Canada is a land that hides its wonders in layers. From coast to coast, its landscapes stretch into distances that feel impossible. Its cities pulse with creativity and quiet confidence, and its wilderness guards secrets that only reveal themselves to those willing to look deeper. Travelers often arrive believing they know where they are going. They think of postcards, Instagram images, famous places they have seen on screens. But Canada is not a place you simply visit. It is a place that slowly unveils itself, each destination presenting a new chapter of a story far larger than any individual journey. In this guide, we are not beginning with the places everyone already talks about. That would be too easy. Instead, we start in the shadows of the unknown, the quiet corners, the underrated provinces, the landscapes that rarely make headlines but leave travelers breathless. These are the places that challenge what people think they know about Canada. The places where you arrive with curiosity and leave with reverence. With every chapter, we move closer to the heart of Canada's identity. We follow the rivers carved by glaciers, the wild territories carved by time, the cities built by dreamers, and the natural wonders shaped long before human footsteps touched the land. And as we progress, the destinations grow more famous, more iconic, more powerful, leading us step by step toward the places that define Canada itself. You may think you know the final destination. You may believe you can predict what stands at the top of this list. But the beauty of Canada is that its greatest treasures remain unforgettable even when you expect them. And by the time we reach the end, the most legendary landscapes will feel richer, deeper, and more meaningful than ever before. So let us begin far away from the spotlight, in the quiet places where Canada whispers before it roars. And when the journey is complete, we will arrive at the wonder that stands above all others. Your journey begins far from the famous skylines and postcard mountains. Here, the wind carries the scent of pine and salt water, and the land stretches in soft curves shaped by centuries of storms. This is a corner of Canada that rarely appears on travel magazines, yet once you stand there, you wonder how the world has not shouted its name from every rooftop. Nova Scotia's coastal wilderness feels like a whispered secret. The roads twist like threads pulled between fishing villages. The ocean crashes against cliffs with a rhythm so steady it feels like a heartbeat. And somewhere between the quiet coves and the sweeping headlands lies a sensation you can't put into words. The sense that you are walking at the edge of the known world. The Cabot Trail winds through the mountains of Cape Breton, like an ancient path carved by giants. You follow the road as it rises and falls, revealing sudden panoramas where the sea collides with rugged cliffs. Bald eagles soar overhead, whales breach in the distance, and during sunrise, the coastline glows with a golden shimmer that feels almost supernatural. This is where the journey truly begins, far from fame, yet rich with soul. No loud crowds, no towering skylines, just a raw, unfiltered Canada, inviting you to take your first breath of something ancient and eternal. And this is only the beginning. Travelers often imagine Canada as a vast wilderness, but few truly step into the places where that wilderness breathes with ancient rhythm. Deep in the heart of Quebec lies a landscape that feels untouched by time. Here, the forests stand tall like living pillars, and the lakes reflect the sky with such clarity that the boundary between earth and heaven seems to disappear. The Laurentian Mountains are often overshadowed by the more dramatic peaks in the west. Yet they hold a quiet magic that reveals itself slowly. The air carries the scent of cedar and cold rivers. Footpaths wind into dense woodland, where the light softens into emerald tones. Canoes glide across mist-covered lakes at dawn, slicing through water so still it mirrors every detail of the world above. Small towns like Saint-Donat and Mont-Tremblant seem built for travelers who want to disappear from noise and return to simplicity. In autumn, the forest transforms into an ocean of fire red, orange, and gold flowing across the mountainsides like a living tapestry. And in winter, the landscape becomes a silent cathedral of snow. The Laurentians don't demand attention. They invite it softly, with the sincerity of a place that exists not to impress, but to restore. Those who begin their journey here often discover a truth. Canada's soul is not found only in the dramatic, it is found in the places where silence feels alive. The Canadian prairies are often imagined as endless flat grasslands stretching into oblivion, but those who truly explore them discover a landscape far more mysterious. Saskatchewan's grasslands hide a beauty so subtle and expansive that it takes the open sky itself to reveal it. This is not a land of skyscraping peaks or roaring oceans, it is a land of horizon of distance so vast that you begin to feel the curvature of the earth. The great sandhills rise unexpectedly from the plains like a forgotten desert, sculpted by ancient winds. Ripples of golden sand shift under your feet. The silence here is profound, pressing gently against your ears until you hear only your own breath. As the sun begins to set, shadows stretch across the dunes, turning them into waves of purple and bronze. For a moment, the world feels unreal, as though you have stepped into a dream woven from earth and sky. And then there is Grasslands National Park, one of the few places on the continent where true dark skies still exist. When night falls here, the universe ignites. Stars multiply until they become a shimmering river overhead. The Milky Way glows so brightly, it seems close enough to touch. In the distance, bison graze silently, their silhouettes moving like ancient guardians under the cosmic canopy. This chapter of Canada is not loud. It does not shout for attention. Instead, it waits patiently for the traveler willing to slow down. And when you do, you are rewarded with a landscape that expands your sense of scale and of self. Off the east coast of Canada lies an island chain sculpted by the elements' thin, delicate strokes of land surrounded by infinite ocean. The Magdalen Islands, Île de la Madeleine, are unlike anything else in the country. You arrive expecting calm, but you quickly realize you have stepped into a world built by wind and shaped by waves. Red cliffs crumble into turquoise water, giant dunes rise like sleeping creatures, and the sound of the sea is constant, a reminder that nature is both artist and architect. The beaches stretch for kilometers, untouched and wild. Their sand is soft enough to erase footprints as quickly as they appear. The smell of salt fills the air. Seals rest along the shoreline, lifting their heads as if greeting travelers who dare to wander far from the mainland. Fishermen still cast their nets the way their ancestors did, creating a cultural rhythm that feels as steady as the tide. In the center of the island chain, tiny villages with brightly colored houses sit peacefully beneath open skies. The locals speak French with a melody shaped by the sea. At night, the wind whistles through the dunes, carrying stories of storms, sailors, and shipwrecks hidden beneath the waves. It is a place that feels fragile yet enduring, a landscape that teaches humility. And for many, it becomes a destination they never forget, one of Canada's softest spoken wonders. Most travelers never make it this far north, but those who do often say the same thing. It changes you. The Yukon is vast, rugged, and untouched, one of the last true wilderness frontiers on Earth. Mountains roll like frozen waves across the landscape, rivers cut through valleys carved by ancient glaciers, and above it all, the sky stretches endlessly, shifting between the soft glow of the midnight sun and the electrifying dance of the aurora borealis. Driving along the Dempster Highway feels like traveling across the spine of a giant sleeping beneath the land. The road stretches endlessly into the distance, surrounded by tundra that glows golden in autumn and silver blue in winter. Caribou move across the horizon in herds that seem to have no beginning or end. Grizzly bears roam the berry-filled slopes, and the wind carries a silence so deep it reshapes the way you listen. Tombstone Territorial Park feels almost extraterrestrial. Sharp, blade-like mountains rise from the earth like obsidian teeth. The valleys between them bloom with wildflowers in summer, turning the rugged terrain into a rare and delicate paradise. When the northern lights ignite the sky, the mountains become silhouettes against curtains of green, purple, and blue. It is a moment that feels both cosmic and intimate. The Yukon is not for the casual traveler. It is for those willing to confront immensity, to understand how small we are, and yet how deeply connected to the land we can be. And as we continue this journey across Canada, each chapter will now grow more familiar, more iconic, and more powerful. On the western edge of Canada, there is a coastline where the ocean breathes against the rainforest and the mountains rise with the calm authority of ancient guardians. Vancouver Island is often introduced as a pleasant escape, but travelers who explore deeper quickly realize it is far more than that. It is a world shaped by storm and sunlight, where forest trails carry the scent of cedar and the sound of waves remains constant in the background. Tofino sits at the heart of this coastal mystery. The town feels like a sanctuary at the edge of the Pacific, a place where surfers wait patiently for the next swell and where the fog rolls over the beach in slow, drifting waves. Long Beach stretches farther than the eye can follow, and the sand grows colder as the wind shapes delicate patterns across its surface. The ocean strikes the shore with a rhythm that feels almost orchestral. At sunset, the sky glows in deep orange and pastel pink, turning the entire coastline into a soft, glowing canvas. Venturing inland reveals forests older than recorded history. Giant trees stand as silent monuments to time. Their roots twist through the earth like ancient veins. Sunlight filters through the canopy in narrow golden beams. You walk softly without knowing why because it feels like stepping into a sacred place. Vancouver Island teaches that wilderness is not just a space but a spirit, and that some landscapes are meant to be experienced slowly. There is a moment when a traveller steps into Quebec City and instantly understands that Canada contains more than wilderness. It also carries centuries of memory. Cobblestone streets wind through neighbourhoods filled with stone buildings and warm lights glowing behind antique windows. The air has a European charm yet carries a distinctly Canadian soul that makes the city feel timeless. Old Quebec rises on its cliff with the dignity of a place that has witnessed empires rise and fall. The Chateau Frontenac stands above the St. Lawrence River like a grand sentinel. Its towers and sharp angles reflect the sky at every hour. Walking the streets below reveals cafes filled with music, bakeries carrying the smell of fresh pastries, and small shops decorated with colours as vibrant as the city's spirit. During winter, the city becomes a dream of snow. Lights shimmer through the frost and the river freezes into a silent sheet of silver. The music of street performers echoes between the walls. In summer festivals fill the air with laughter and energy. Quebec City feels alive in every season. It is one of the rare places where history breathes and culture dances openly. Travellers often come for a weekend but leave with a sense that they stepped inside a living chapter of Canada's story. Ontario is usually introduced through its famous city, but those who travel north or east discover a very different world. The province contains lakes so clear they reflect the forest with perfect accuracy, and cliffs carved by ice more than 10,000 years ago. It is a land shaped by water, granite, and quiet determination. Algonquin Park stands at the heart of this wilderness. Canoes glide across still lakes during early morning light. Mist rises from the water like a soft veil moving between trees. Loons call out with haunting echoes that travel across the surface. Trails lead into dense forest populated by moose, wolves, and black bears. The park feels boundless, and the silence is powerful. It surrounds you until every step and breath becomes part of the landscape. Farther west, the shores of Lake Superior reveal a different tone. The water is vast and cold, and the waves move with surprising strength. The cliffs rise sharply, and the beaches carry smooth stones shaped by centuries of motion. Pukaskwa National Park feels untouched by time. From the rocky headlands, you can look out across the lake and feel as though you are standing beside an inland ocean. Ontario reminds travellers that Canada is not defined only by its cities. It is defined by the way land and water shape each other across hundreds of kilometres. Before we reach Canada's most iconic final destination, there is a city that deserves its own moment. It is a place where mountains stand tall behind every skyline, and where sea, forest, and glass slowly weave into a single breathtaking panorama. Vancouver is the meeting point of nature and urban elegance, and it feels almost impossible that such a city exists. Walking along the seawall reveals a horizon that sparks awe. The water curves gently along the edge of Stanley Park. Forest trails disappear under tall evergreens. Snow-capped mountains reach upward behind the downtown towers like colossal guardians watching over the city. Every corner seems crafted for beauty. Even something as simple as a bicycle ride becomes cinematic. Granville Island carries the warm heartbeat of Vancouver through its markets. Local artisans and musicians who perform under the open sky. The aroma of fresh bread, roasted coffee, and fruit fills the air. Across the water, the city's skyline reflects on the surface like a shimmering dream. When night falls, lights begin to float above the harbour, transforming the scene into something almost magical. People often say that Vancouver is not visited once, it is revisited many times. The combination of ocean, mountain, and culture creates a sense of belonging that travellers cannot fully explain. Vancouver prepares the viewer for what comes next, because the next chapter is the moment everyone has been waiting for. It is the place that defines the image of Canada around the world. Every journey across this immense country leads toward one destination. Travelers may begin in quiet forests or windswept coasts or vibrant cities, but eventually all paths converge here at the heart of the Canadian Rockies. Banff and Lake Louise form a world so striking that even photographs struggle to capture their truth. This is the place where mountains rise like ancient stone cathedrals, and where lakes glow with impossible shades of turquoise under the open sky. Arriving in Banff feels like stepping into a painting. The mountains surround the town from every side, each peak carved with an intensity that suggests they carry stories older than memory. The air is crisp even in summer, and the rivers run with glacial clarity. Wildlife roams freely across the valleys. Elk graze near the forests at dusk. Eagles circle above the ridges. The landscapes shift with the weather, and every moment feels different from the last. Then there is Lake Louise, a jewel resting beneath towering stone guardians. The water glows with a turquoise light created by glacial flour suspended in the lake. When the sun hits the surface, the color intensifies until it seems unreal. The surrounding mountains stand like silent protectors, and the glacier at the far end rises in layered shades of white and blue. As you walk along the shoreline, the world becomes quiet. The wind softens, the light deepens. Time seems to slow for anyone willing to stand still. Beyond Lake Louise lies Moraine Lake, a place that stirs something deep within the soul. The Valley of the 10 Peaks frames the water with perfect symmetry. When sunrise touches the surface, the lake transforms into liquid sapphire. The mountains reflect with flawless clarity. The scene is so powerful that many travelers describe it not as a view, but as an emotion. The landscape becomes a reminder that beauty can reshape the way we see the world. Hiking through these mountains reveals countless alpine lakes, glaciers, and meadows bursting with wildflowers. Every trail feels like an invitation, and every summit offers a reward that lives in memory forever. It is here in the heart of the Rockies that Canada reveals its deepest identity: strength, silence, grandeur. A landscape shaped by ice, time, and the quiet persistence of nature. This final destination is more than a place you visit. It is a place that changes you. When you leave the mountains behind, you carry something with you: a deeper breath, a renewed sense of wonder, a reminder that the world still holds places capable of lifting the human spirit to heights as great as the peaks themselves. After crossing remote wilderness, oceanside cliffs, and ancient mountains, the final chapter of this journey enters the places that shape Canada's pulse. These are the cities whose names echo across the world, the places travelers assume they understand because they have seen them in films, brochures, or photographs. Yet for anyone arriving for the very first time, the truth is far more surprising. These cities do not just welcome visitors, they reintroduce them to Canada in an entirely new light. Toronto stands at the beginning of this final chapter. Many imagine a loud, crowded metropolis dominated by skyscrapers and the iconic CN Tower, but a first-time visitor soon feels something different. At the harbourfront, the city moves with a soft rhythm, the lake shaking off golden light, while people from every culture on Earth cross the boardwalk in a harmony that feels effortless. Toronto feels like a world folded into one place, every neighbourhood offering a different identity, every street holding a different flavour. The surprise is not its size, but its warmth, its openness, its way of making newcomers feel instantly part of its enormous family. Montreal reveals itself like a shifting dream. Old Montreal greets travellers with stone streets and cathedral bells, but just steps away pulses a modern city alive with music, art, and late-night energy. First-time visitors are always taken by its double soul. Part North America, part Europe, part festival, part sanctuary. Cafes spill into the sidewalks. Street murals tower over alleyways like modern frescoes. French and English intertwine in a dance that feels both ancient and boldly contemporary. Montreal does not simply welcome travelers, it seduces them. Vancouver arrives with a gentleness that hides its extraordinary scale. Travelers expect glass towers and a thriving West Coast city. What they do not expect is how closely nature watches over it. One moment you are standing in the heart of the city. A few minutes later you are walking beneath colossal cedar trees, cycling around the seawall, or watching mountains rise from the ocean like titans. For many, Vancouver is the moment they understand that a city can be modern without losing touch with wilderness. Ottawa carries an entirely different tone. Many picture a quiet government city, slow and serious. But a first-time visitor quickly sees something deeper. Parliament Hill rises above the river with the elegance of an old European capital. Canals weave through green spaces and historic buildings. Museums open their doors to centuries of stories. Ottawa surprises travelers not with noise, but with poetry. It invites them to slow down, breathe, and understand the nation's past before stepping back into its present. Calgary reveals the frontier spirit modernized. The skyline rises over golden plains, yet the mountains stand visible on the horizon like guardians calling from a distance. First-time visitors feel the blend of cowboy heritage, youthful ambition, and the unstoppable energy of a city perched on the edge of wilderness. Calgary is a reminder that Canada's strength has always lived in the balance between nature and innovation. Edmonton carries a northern pulse, wide open skies, and a cultural scene that surprises nearly everyone who walks its streets for the first time. In summer, festivals erupt across the city, and the river valley becomes a vast green labyrinth of trails and quiet corners. Edmonton feels like a gateway to the continent's wilder north, yet full of warmth and community. Winnipeg introduces itself quietly, offering travelers a blend of resilience and creativity. Art flourishes in unexpected places. The Forks brings people together where two rivers meet. Music, culture, and history pulse through the city. Visitors soon realize Winnipeg offers something few cities do: authenticity without pretense. Quebec City arrives like a storybook brought to life. Stone walls, old gates, narrow pathways lit with evening lanterns. For a first-time visitor, it feels less like arriving in a city and more like stepping into a living chapter of history. Yet behind the charm lies a vibrant culture that refuses to remain in the past. Quebec City blends tradition and modern life in a way that leaves travelers enchanted long after they leave. A country is not defined only by its mountains or its lakes. It is shaped by the voices, the cultures, the streets, and the stories of the people who live within it. And in these cities, Canada offers travelers not just views, but encounters, not just destinations, but emotions. This is urban Canada, familiar in name, surprising in experience, alive with the heartbeat of a nation that always has more to reveal.